Hello again. Every day now, the name of Barbara Spectre seems to be appearing in the comments to this channel, with people daring me to talk about her and her supposed influence in Europe. Before I go any further, I ought to mention something about my past, perhaps. Um, I lived in Israel for years and I got on fine with Israeli Arabs and Jews. I enjoyed good relations with the Druze when I came into contact with them, and also Baha'is. Uh, One group I didn't always see eye to eye with were American Jews who had made Aliyah, which is to say, gone to live permanently in Israel. They often tended to be rather extreme, and also many of them were a bit loopy. This isn't merely a personal opinion, it's borne out by events. I'm thinking of people like Meir Kahane, who founded the Jewish Defence League. He made Aliyah in 1971, founded a political movement called Kach, which was dedicated to driving Arabs out of Israel, and then was subsequently assassinated. He was a really, really odd person. Quite a few of the Gash Emunim, the block of the faithful, uh, go and live in settlements in Judea and Samaria. A lot of those are Americans as well. They have more extreme views, they're more observant religiously than a lot of ordinary people. I lived for a spell in the Gaza Strip with these people, and they're hardly typical of Israelis, Jews, or Americans. They're in a class of their own. The only time I've ever been accused of anti Semitism was by an American Jew who had made Aliyah and gone to live in Israel. This was in 1979. The Israeli Air Force had fought a dogfight over Lebanon with some Syrian planes, and I expressed the view that neither Israel nor Syria had any business at all in Lebanese airspace. That was that. I later heard that I'd been denounced as a rabid anti-Semite for expressing that view. This preamble is necessary to point out to those who do not know that American Jews who make Aliyah and live in Israel are often not the most reasonable and sane people where certain matters are concerned. I have myself been accused of being a Zionist extremist on this channel, but believe me, I'm a milk and water liberal compared to some of those people. Enter Barbara Spectre. Barbara Lerner Spectre, who is an American Jew with weird views who went to live in Israel. She's nearly 80, which makes her even older than I am, which is always pleasant. She has degrees in philosophy, married a rabbi in the United States, made Aliyah in 1967, the year of the Six-Day War. After teaching in Israel at various colleges and universities for about 30 years, she and her husband then decided to go and live in Sweden. Since then, she's more or less devoted herself to the cause of multiculturalism. I won't say that she's a crank, but her views are at odds with a good deal of mainstream Jewish thought. Her ideas are not typical either of an Israeli perspective, nor of the average Jew living in Europe, really. I must admit I took against her a bit a few years ago when she was arguing with Anatol Sharansky, who was one of the great Russian refuseniks of the 70s. I won't go into too much detail about her ideology, but essentially she believes that Europe must accept that it is no longer a monolithic white Christian bloc and should begin integrating Muslims and other immigrants into its culture and recognise that Christianity in Europe is no longer the dominant belief system. She argues this point of view for obvious reasons relating to the aftermath of the Holocaust, and I don't happen to agree with her in any respect. That's beside the point, though. What is important to realise is that a lot of Jews don't agree with her either. She's irritated Israel, who would like to see the Jews of Europe going to live in Israel, obviously, and she's also annoyed a lot of Jews in Europe as well, who don't want an American poking her nose into their communities and telling folk what she thinks they should be doing and thinking. I have a mild interest in Spectre, as I'm always interested in what is happening in Israel and also in the communities of other European countries. Barbara Spectre isn't anybody special, and an awful lot of Jews, perhaps most for one reason or another, don't agree with her point of view. She's very popular, though, with Gentiles who are keen on multiculturalism, which is perhaps how some of the people commenting here have come to hear of her. Anybody who thinks she is some kind of mastermind of her plots to bring immigrants to Europe must be utterly bonkers, though. I hope this is all I shall be ever called upon to say about this deeply odd woman.